Water is transforming. Being on the water with a paddle in hand, it's relaxing and energizing, it's rewarding and challenging. It's sometimes chaotic or serene. It can be both fun and humbling. The power of water is regenerative and transformational. Good morning. My name is Sarah Hippensteel Hall, and I'm with the Miami Conservancy District. It is my great pleasure to introduce our next session. A number of years ago, the Miami Conservancy District hosted a kayak trip down the Great Miami River. We wanted to introduce the river to the students of the University of Dayton, and we partnered with the Fitz Center for Leadership and Community to immerse a dozen or so students and faculty into river recreation, into river culture, and into our riverfront communities. We could not have imagined the impact. That two-day river trip inspired the students to dream of a way to take that experience and turn it into a unique, sustainable, student-led organization called the Rivers Institute, hosted by the Fitz Center and led by Leslie King, who is here with us today. Raise your hand, Leslie. The students of the Rivers Institute work together to tackle community issues and work closely with community partners. MCD is fortunate to be one of those partners, and some years we have the added benefit of attracting a river steward, or a stew, as we like to call them, as an MCD seasonal staff member. The summit is not only a place to hear about accomplishments and future plans, it is also a place where we come to work together. And for those of you who have been to a summit in the past, you'll know that we brainstorm new projects, we tackle hard issues to come up with solutions, and sometimes we do art projects together. So examples of our work in previous summits include a permanent art installation that is now in downtown Hamilton. If you all remember the mosaic tile project we did together, it is permanently installed. It is beautiful in front of the Fitton Art Center. But we've also brainstormed ideas to make our trails and rivers safer, and we have implemented those projects. For example, the sticker project that went on our bike trail signs earlier this year to help make 911 first responders find people faster who need help. So this year we're partnering with the river stewards to find ways that we can work together to make our river corridor more equitable. So please help me welcome to the stage Allison Hardy, Elizabeth Arnold, Drew Kimes, Katie Horgan, and my personal current favorite stew, Tessa O'Halloran, who also served as a valued MCD team member last summer. Let's give them a welcome.
Hello, as you all know, we are the River Stewards at the University of Dayton. I am Drew Kimes. I'm a junior. My major is health science with a focus in exercise and movement, with the goal to become a physical therapist, excuse me.
Hi everyone, I'm Tessa. I'm a junior. I'm currently studying civil engineering. I'm Allison Hardy. I'm currently a junior studying electrical engineering. I'm Elizabeth. I'm a junior studying I'm Katie. I'm a junior studying psychology.
With the Fitz Center, we as River Stewards kind of share similar visions and missions. So our vision as River Stewards is educating and inspiring leaders who empower communities to be stewards of their own rivers. And then our mission is a collaboration of students, faculty, staff, partners who engage in their interdisciplinary and experiential learning, civic engagement, and sustainable community development around the rivers, the strategic natural resource central to communal, economic, aesthetic, and ecological vitality of the Dayton region and beyond.
So what is a river steward? We get this question a lot. I would say it's like sort of like a club. You can only join your freshman year. There's like 30 hours of community service every semester that's required. It's a 1 credit class, and we usually meet from 3:30 to 5:30 on Fridays, and that's just our like mini course hours. And every single year there's a different capstone project. There's been 14 graduating cohorts so far, so it was developed in the late like 2010, 2011 era. And there's an annual scholarship as well. And the main focus about like river stewards that I think Leslie's done a great job with is developing this watershed lens, no matter like what job you have. So going through this program and having this outlook on life, no matter what your background's like. Past projects that we've done, so there's been 14 graduating cohorts, and every year there's like a different project. Some of these photos are just from like services that we've done. I know one of them's from like Walnut Hills. We're like picking weeds. Dakota Center, that's where our seniors are focusing this semester. They're developing educational outreach programs for kids about the Riverway. In the bottom right corner, this is like a food drive that we also have in Walnut Hills. In the top right, that's into the river, this was developed. We're going to go more into depth about this in the next couple slides. But thanks to the the City of Dayton Department of Water and the Five Rivers Metro Parks Foundation, we were able to put this book together in 2020. All the art is developed by UD students and from kids that they visited through the Rivermobile. The Rivermobile was developed, I think the first pass of it was like, the idea started in like 2012, and it was like a $500,000 project. We reached a bunch of kids over the years. It was like a mobile school, but we're gonna go it wasn't the most like environmental sustainable project. It cost a lot of money to run. It was always broken down, but we're gonna go into more slides about how we're continuing these projects now.
Okay, so the 2024 cohort, which is our cohort, wanted to focus on revitalization and continuation of past cohort projects. So the first part of this was the Rivermobile, as Tessa just talked about. The Rivermobile has been reimagined and installed as an exhibit at Boonshoff Museum of Discovery in Dayton. The images shown are what the exhibit currently looks like, and it is installed and open to the public, so go check it out. From the years 2013 to 2023, the Rivermobile served over 30,000 people in the greater Dayton area, but through our partnership with the Dayton Society of Natural History and Miami Conservancy District, it is now able to serve over 500,000 people a year, which is a big improvement. In addition, the 2024 cohort wanted to strengthen our relationship with Boonshoft through continued programming. The picture above shows some of our stews utilizing an EnviroScape model to teach kids about groundwater contamination. We've also used a groundwater model and different coloring sheets to illustrate what a watershed is and what our river looks like. These models were provided to us courtesy of MCD, so thank you, MCD. And we are excited to continue programming with Boonshoft in the future.
So the next project that we're working on continues the children's storybook that Tessa mentioned that a few years ago was the senior cohort project. And this is a partnership with MCD, who helped us write a grant that we got from ODNR to put in this storybook trail. And it will be along the river between Stewart Street and Carillon Park. And there's a bike path right there, so it'll be right off the bike path. And so the bike path, people already use this area, and we're hoping to attract more people, and maybe bring their kids to have like some activities along the river. And today it's been being installed or it should be installed by today at Tawawa Park. So hopefully more people can go there as well to see it. And here's an image of just one of the storyboards that was adapted from the book that just shows that. And there'll also be like little QR codes that'll like take you to different links of like things to learn about the river and different activities for kids and their families.
So next we have a video about the first cohort, kind of showing where the River Stewards program all started. So we're gonna talk about some of the experience of the river stewards. So here we have a quote from one of our sophomores in the most recent cohort. So Hannah said that the experience she has learned in River Stewards has led her to many new experiences, and she's created a great network of people. The connections she's made through the program have led her to discover new things and making her passionate about different ways she can be part of making change in our community and future communities I'll be a part of. Personally, I have really deep connections with River Stewards. I actually became a River Steward because the Rivermobile visited my school in middle school, so I got to go through it. My mom actually contacted the university to have it brought it to our school. And she actually worked in it with Leslie for a little bit, teaching the middle schoolers. And so I really wanted to join after that because it made a huge impact on me. And every time we go out to parks and stuff, we always point out all the dry dams and learn about the rivers. And so it's made a huge impact. So I knew when I came to UD that I wanted to be a river steward so I could help educate kids in the same way that I got.
Now that you guys heard a little bit about us, we want to hear from you guys. We have a few questions. We took a lot of time and consideration making sure these questions were purposeful. And we want to thank our fellow river stewards for helping us come up with these. A few of you might have seen these before from our community partner meeting that we had a few weeks ago. But we're just going to do them here as well to hear from you guys. There should be some note cards at the front of each table. If you guys could grab those. Each card is going to be used for a different question. And then amongst your table, you're going to discuss what you guys think about these questions. And then write down some notes so we can see them later. So the first question we have is, what would an equitable and healthy riverfront community look like in a perfect world? And we'll reconvene in like 10 minutes.
All right, who would like to volunteer with your response on your card? Mayor Nicole Condrey from Middletown. All right, what would an equitable and healthy riverfront community look like in a perfect world?
All right, from up front here, we had 3 different thoughts. One was connectivity to a variety of neighborhoods. It's something we're missing, is greater connectivity into the rest of our city from the riverfront. Another was community leadership, connections, and discussions with the Conservancy District. We think maybe there could be better communications just between local leaders and the Conservancy District itself about what can and can't be done along the riverfront. And then also increased lighting and safety.
What other group? Students, any comments? Interject there at all? We're just gaining information for them, actually. So your thoughts, Mayor Nicole, thank you for yours. Any other thoughts? I have a wireless microphone, I can go anywhere. Who else? Come on, it's for the youth of America. Let's help them out. Thank you for volunteering, so please step up.
Our group, we had some comparable notes: easy access to the water in multiple locations or multiple points along the water. Maintain the green space. Consistent maintenance along the trail. We've noticed there are some areas where the maintenance is done very well, but then there are other places where it's not maintained and it makes access to the river not possible. And then accessible for all ages, children to seniors. Kayaking and canoeing is great, but not everybody can get into a kayak or a canoe. So some other ways where people could enjoy the water. I know we can't do piers of that sort over the water, but something more accessible for other people.
Thank you, good comments. Who is this table?
City of Franklin.
All right, City of Franklin, thank you for being in the house. Anybody else? Let's go up a deck. Oh, we have this one. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. Stand up. Who's at our table today?
I guess we're all Five Rivers Metro Parks.
Five Rivers Metro Parks, all right. And your thoughts?
Our thoughts, not mine. We had a lot of access things. So I think it was already mentioned for maybe our, it was stated elderly with wheelchairs, but I'll just say anybody. And then, okay, I'm going to read all the notes maybe first. Anyone with disabilities. And then also we mentioned well-maintained access points for fishing boats with trailers. comments have been that they've been maybe put in years ago, but then maybe the river erodes below it, they back off the end of the concrete, and now their trailer's sitting on the frame. Accessibility for activities that include all socioeconomic situations. Rental equipment on site with autonomous capabilities. And then viewing points. So I believe that was also maybe mentioned. And then education on engaging and caring for the river. And then, like, I may be able to get down to the water's edge to fish, but maybe somebody, when I mentioned that about the wheelchair, we can't put something out into the water, but we can maybe put something like a little bump out that levels it out to where they can wheel out closer to it and then be able to fish or do some photography, just view, something like that. Okay, I'm going to sit down now.
Very good. Round of applause for her. That's very nervous, but really some excellent suggestions from Five River Metro Park. One more here before we move on. One more on this question. How would an equitable and healthy riverfront community look like in a perfect world? Anybody else? I'm just going to come to your table if I don't see a volunteer. Here we go. All right. If you'll please stand, give us your name and who you're representing today.
Kirsten French, City of Piqua, but also this wonderful group and some others who were here. Inclusion definitely includes having an assessment of minority communities and understanding who's using the river and who's not, and figuring out what it is that makes the river seem so appealing for maybe one demographic if you look around the room versus others. Also, we talk about the I-75 corridor and automobile transportation between our cities, and then, yay, the opportunity to use bikes, but not everybody is going to bike 25 miles between cities. Transit is missing as an option between all of our cities to connect us. So another way to get, up and down the Riverway corridor if you don't own a car or don't want to drive and are maybe not looking for a day-long bike trip.
Thank you, City of Piqua. We appreciate your input. Students, do you have anything you would like to add at this point?
Yes, I just want to say thank you for all your comments. One that stuck out to me was making it more accessible to people of all abilities. I think that's definitely a good way that we can make our riverway more equitable for everyone.
Fantastic. Let's move on to question number 2, unless you have any other comments up there, that follow-up questions of any kind? Okay. All right, question number 2. How do we all engage a more diverse population in activities along the river corridor? Students, any addition to that question that you'd like to share before we get our cards out again?
I don't think so.
You're good? All right, so it is. Once again, we will give you 5 minutes or so to converse amongst your table mates and answer to your best knowledge and your best thoughts and feelings of the future. How do we all engage a more diverse population in activities along our beautiful river corridor? Everyone, commence thinking. All right, community partners, your question: how do we all engage a more diverse population activities along our river corridor? And I am going to start with this table right here. Who wants to be the spokesperson? Who is going to share our ideas? I think the one cheering the most should be the one with the microphone.
I have very little.
Oh, she has a sore throat. We're a team. I love that. Fantastic. Aren't we all a team in this room? Fantastic. Who are you representing today?
At our table, we have Five Rivers Metro Parks and the staff from Troy. And for us, we talked about making sure that we were out in the community and being visible, to kind of educate and talk with people about what is out there and how to remove barriers to access, whether that's transportation, knowing where to safely park was an issue that folks in Troy were facing, knowing if there's transportation assistance or rentals, because sometimes getting out there can be expensive. And so are there ways that can lower that barrier so you can try something without buying a $250 kayak? And talk about it being safe, because our communities post-flood haven't really talked about being on the river in a safe and productive way. And so to talk about how it's not a scary thing, that it can be a fun thing.
Okay, great comments. Thank you. Where else? We're talking diversity amongst our population, the Great Miami Riverway. Who else would like to comment? Am I going to have to? Okay, someone's pointing at it. Well, you guys were up the last time. Let's come over here. Yes, here we go. Your thoughts. Please stand and let us know who you are and where you hail from.
Lorna Swisher with Main Street Piqua, and the representatives at the table are from the city of Piqua. And we thought about a concerted effort for school programming. It's great that the college kids get to go in the water, but are there opportunities to get younger grades out on the river in a safe way that they can learn about the quality of water and the importance of water in the Miami Valley?
Right, thank you. Good comment. Students, any thoughts up there that you'd like to share or add to? Okay. We're talking diversity. Let's see, who's the most scared? Let's talk over here. Let's talk this table right here. Who would like to share your thoughts? Okay, and where are you from, sir?
So I'm Matt Lindsay with the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. At our table, we have two regional organizations. We also have MCD, and then Montgomery County and City of Sydney. So we're a mishmash. We talked about wayfinding, connecting information for connectedness from other places to the river, and then reaching out and learning about communities that are not accessing or using the river. What is the baseline usage? Who is there now and who is missing? For those who are not here, where do they go? And go to where they are to communicate. Learn what amenities they would like to see. What is the perception of the river? What are the barriers? And then ultimately being willing to adjust and do what is needed to make the Riverway more attractive.
Very good thoughts. Sir, I see you kind of bobbing your head over here. You must have some input that you'd like to share with us right here. Oh, okay.
She's hard.
Matt Latham, Metro Parks of Butler County. So we talked about scholarship options for transportation to get school groups out, folks who don't normally have access to the river, more cultural activities of various types. A very important one is enhancing the perception of safety in our public spaces, and doing so without a heavy-handed presence. That's important to counter the perception that these public spaces are unsafe, especially in lower income communities.
We also need to promote safety of Mike Miller from Rivers Unlimited in Cincinnati. We need to promote the safety of waters. We monitor the Great Miami River for E. coli, nitrogen, phosphorus, and a variety of things at 80 sites in Hamilton County, and the Butler County Stream Team does that one county up. And we can report to the liveries how safe the water is relative to the standard for canoeing, 106 E. coli per 100 ml.
Very good. Important to have a clean. What's that? All right. Thank you for your input very much. And I must tell you, when I was a news reporter, Channel 2 in 2005, one of my assignments was to go with the river stewards and do an overnight camping. And I got to be honest, I did not know until I did that story how beautiful our river was. It gave me a complete change of view of that river. I'm sorry I'm a little behind there, but what we have in that river, it just changes your atmosphere, changes your attitude, and certainly is a side of Dayton and the Montgomery County area that I had never seen before. So that was awesome. All right, question number 3, students, our River Institute students. What actions and steps can we take to work towards this? All right, we have the ideas. How do we implement them? And your thoughts, okay? You have 5 minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, put down your pens. Tessa here would like to point out, Tessa, I'll let you point to the first table that gets there.
I think over here, this table looks like they've been having great conversation, been plotting MCD. I think.
Thank you, Tessa. So this was a tough question. I think we had a lot of things written down for the first two questions, but what do you do with it? So great question and great follow-up. We pretty quickly were talking about money, you know, and that a lot of the ideas of transportation or allowing people to use these spaces and to do these activities. Once getting there, you know, how do we make it feel safer? How do we make it easier to get there? How do we get them on, you know, in a canoe and on the river? And frankly, we didn't have we didn't have a genius solution, but we think exploring ways, you know, to raise revenues, to raise funds, to push some of these programs together. And as we talked about it, also it's working together. We've talked about so much here in the beginning this morning. We all try to do this individually. It might be difficult. We have different programs, so really working together and trying to find creative ways to get some funding for the communication and for the activities.
I understand Tessa worked with y'all. How was she?
Excellent.
Excellent. All right, Tessa, get high grades there. Thank you. Great. That's why we picked that table. All right, okay, right up here, sir. Let's end with you here. We're going to do just a couple. We don't want to get behind time. We want to be cognizant of your time.
My name is Larry Hamilton. I'm from Piqua, where I taught a Black History course for 30 consecutive years, so I'm very much interested in these lines of questioning. And I think I have an idea that can address a couple of aspects of these questions. I have a paper here that I'll pass out and share with people, anyone who wants to listen anytime, called Your Ancestors and Our Heritage. And so we need to think more inclusively, and we need to allow parents to be involved in training up their children so that they can have some access to heritage sites that are identified by all communities, especially those communities of color. And we have difficult times responding to questions like this based upon race and ethnicity, and we often kind of shy away and allow more of a disability kind of status than race and ethnicity. So let's acknowledge some things in the past. Let's collectively, collaboratively attempt to address those things, and let's move forward. Your ancestors, but it's our heritage.
All right, everyone, thank you. Thank you so much for your input. We really would love to spend more time on this, but we do have to move on to other things. And I know we have a commissioner in this house. Well, besides the former commissioner, Dan Foley, but we also have Commissioner Rice here, right?
Yeah, I want to, well, first of all, I want to say thanks to the UD River Stewards. Please give them a round of applause. I think before I transition to the next thing, we're going to do a video, right? Is that right? Are we ready to cue it up?
We have that video that we were trying to show earlier. We got it loaded up. But before we move into that, I did want to say, like, an overall theme of today that we heard is there's a lack of education. And that's one thing as river stewards we are focusing on, and we want you to join us and continue to educate and be stewards of our rivers just like we do. So here's our video.
So this video was made by the first cohort in 2010, and it was actually shown at one of the first river summits that was held at the University of Dayton, and it kind of started as one of the ways to catalyst what we've gotten here today.
As a part of the Rivers Institute at the University of Dayton, 9 undergraduates were challenged with the task of combining 2.5 years of experience and waterway knowledge into one project. What better way to understand the rivers than to travel them? They knew the river's history and made their own on the way. 50 miles of water, 4 days of exploring, reuniting communities with the river. We are the River Stewards, and this is our story.
As juniors deciding what we wanted our senior projects to be, we wanted to spend 5 days on the river getting to know each other, getting to know cities up and down the river a lot better, and to really take a holistic view of the entire region and not just Dayton.
We started up at the headwaters at Indian Lake, And along the way, we visited the cities of Sydney, Piqua, and Troy, and concluded our trip at Taylorsville Dam.
The headwaters were important because it's where everything starts. It's where our trip started, it's where the river starts. It's basically the foundation to our trip.
There's so much going on there. I really didn't know what to expect. I knew it was a big lake, that's all I'd really heard. And there are just tons and tons of houses there. Everyone has a boat on the water, and it was kind of hopeful for me that people really do appreciate the water.
I would be surprised if 5% of Dane's population breached the leveling walls. And even then, you're not even enjoying all the possibilities. When you're in a kayak, if we can take people out onto the river, they establish a relationship with it, and it's pretty fun.
You get out there on the river and you're paddling and you're with these amazing friends that you've made, and you just take this big deep breath and you just let it all out.
We spoke to a historian in Sydney about the river's history, and he had developed a curriculum for children, and now that we know that history, we can go and share it with children and babies.
Every mile or two we had a point where we get out of our boats and we do biological, chemical, and macroinvertebrate sampling on stretches of river. It was really cool to see how everybody just snapped to it real easy and really got things done efficiently. It really spoke to how well we function as a team.
You have to wait until the numbers show up, so you might have to just hang out for a little bit.
My job during the biological testing was to do dissolved oxygen.
On the river, I tested temperature and pH.
And my job was to do turbidity testing.
I would run across the river and get samples, and if it was too deep, we would canoe across or kayak across. It was interesting. I learned a lot more about the science aspects than I expected to.
I got to bring the river stewards and the camaraderie together with the scientific research, and I think it really enriched everyone's experience by being able to do something scientific and productive while we're having this great experience.
Going into the trip, I expected a hard paddle, and we got that, but we also got a lot more. We grew together as a group. I mean, we've known each other for 3 years now, and this is the capstone, and we're all going our separate ways.
When we got to the Johnston farm, we first got on a canal boat, just like in the olden days. And for me, that was particularly interesting because up in Akron, it's all about the canals. Canal Park, there's the towpath. So I didn't realize how expansive the canals were in Ohio. And it just shows how connected we all are in the entire state and beyond just because of the rivers.
In Troy, we got to camp overnight on Treasure Island right next to the river, but also in the city. We had some historians come talk to us and tell stories. It was really neat to just be downtown and yet that close to the river, and I'd have other people there that were excited we were doing it and there to experience it with us.
So when we got to Troy, we had dinner at a place called the Tin Roof Inn, which is a very nice restaurant. We had a conversation with both the mayor of Troy and the director of the Miami County Parks District, as well as the city engineer of Troy.
Those that have rivers and have seen the value of those rivers, I think they have seen the power of making things happen along the river.
Once they get down here and they actually can feel the river and get in it, it's like, oh, this isn't so bad.
I think we really got to talk over shared interests between, we river stewards, academically, the things we want to do and the things that they do themselves.
The whole trip was, it was such an extreme trip. And coming and seeing the dam, and first of all, the dam looks completely different on the other side. But then just seeing the dam and knowing that, okay, we're done. It was like a weight off my shoulders. At the same time, it was very sad because we'd just done this huge trip and we'd grown so much closer, and now it's over.
It's been great getting to know people for 3 years, and I know the river stewards in the future will carry on what we have begun.
This trip was really a culmination of the 3 years of River Stewards because we got to do the biology aspect, we learned about the history of the river and the different cities along the river, and we got to form relationships with community members along the way.
Thank you. Another round of applause for the River Stewards from the University of Dayton. Well done. Thank you. We just have a couple announcements that we're going to take a break until the Director of the Ohio Department of Development, Lydia Mahalik, speaks to us at 11. But I wanted to mention one of the reasons that we're here happened in 2014 when Montgomery County, together with the Conservancy District, was able to get about $250,000 of federal money to do the kind of the whole inventory of everything that's on the river that led to the formation of the Great Miami Riverway. And I just wanted to say, Montgomery County Commissioner Carolyn Rice is here. Please give her a round of applause. And thank you for that money, then. Thank you. I also, Michelle Collins, the mayor of Miamisburg, is going to come up for an announcement that's going to happen next week. The reason I asked Michelle to do this was because you heard Mayor Pearson from Piqua talk about the Lock 9 development. It's a $10 million riverfront park, and every community that we have heard from on that video, on the earlier video, is talking about spending public money to kind of plant the flag in their community. And the reason that's important is not just because it gives people a place to go, but in my opinion, I think in all our opinions, it gets confidence in the private sector to invest around that. And you're seeing that in every community. So Michelle, if you wouldn't mind coming up, City of Miamisburg was one of the first communities on the Great Miami River to start putting some significant money into public spaces, and Michelle has an exciting announcement that goes with that.
Thank you, Dan, for letting me make the shameless Miamisburg plug. About 23 years ago, staff stop me if I'm wrong, Miamisburg decided to make a riverfront park, and it took, well, we're 23 years into it. And if you've been to our downtown, the park is beautiful. There's a splash pad there. There's a band shelter there where we have free concerts in the park every Sunday. Of course, Miamisburg is now a Dora community. So the park really has a great function in our city right now, but it's not done. And through a lot of work with city staff, the confidence of Miamisburg City Council, we have decided as a city to put $4.5 million into our park and complete it this year. Construction starts next week, and we will probably be done. Ryan Davis is going to kill me for this, our Parks and Rec director. It's looking like probably next April. It'll be probably complete for the solar eclipse. But it's going to be really painful for a while, and we're really trying to reach out to citizens right now. As you know, downtown parking in any downtown is it's not at a premium. So we're working with staff, we're working with downtown businesses to educate them of what kind of impact it's going to have on our downtown. But the park will be done. We've been working on this park 23 years, and it will be complete, and it is beautiful. Inclusive play area, permanent band shelter, river overlooks. Now our park is flat, and you have to climb up the levee. It will grade up to the top of the levee, and we'll have swings up there to enjoy the park. So groundbreaking is next Tuesday at 10 a.m. in Miamisburg. You are all invited. But it's exciting, and as Dan just said, it builds confidence of our downtown businesses for people to come downtown and start a business, and for those that are currently there to take advantage of what the river and what historic downtowns offer. I'm sure John Foreman, the owner of Bullwinkle's, will let me share with you. He just spent $500,000 on an outdoor patio that will back up to this park. And if the park weren't there, he might not have done that. So it's just, it takes a collaboration between cities and private business owners to really make things happen. So please come to Miamisburg next Tuesday if you're not busy. We'll give you a personal tour. Thank you.
Hey, I just want to say one more thing on top of that. As the Miami Conservancy District, it's really important that we work with communities like we have been with Miamisburg and Franklin for all of these new developments, because it's really critical that we're looking at the, the flood levels, the levees, the impacts, and all that stuff. So I just really want to put a plug that we want to work with you early and often as you're thinking about those kinds of things. So thank you, Miamisburg, for what you guys are doing, and everybody else, and our engineering staff, are here to help. And again, we just want to be here for you.
All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break until 11. One thing I do want to say is that if you want, we're going to have coffee, but if you want to buy a soda or some candy, the concession's open too.